Thomas.
Hi there. Nice to see you.
Yep, nice to have you here. Let's jump right into it. Let's talk about healthcare. I know that's a specific focus for you and for SMW.
Yeah.
What's happening in the healthcare industry locally and globally?
Sure. Yeah, I'm actually this afternoon at 4:30. I'm presenting upstairs on emerging healthcare technologies. So healthcare has been a huge vertical for SM&W. It's been a big focus of ours for years. We're seeing actually a lot of expansion in healthcare here in Southeast Asia. We're actually working on a very significant project right here in Bangkok. So I've actually been in Bangkok, I think 3 times already this year. So a lot of stuff happening right here in Southeast Asia in terms of healthcare projects and opportunities. And what we're doing is really taking a lot of what we've learned in the West, back from the States, in terms of our healthcare practice, a lot of the innovations and technologies and applications that have really emerged out of the West and now are integrating them here in the East. And that's what we're seeing a big need for. So a lot of hospital developments are actually tying in clinical partners from actually the West, from the United States in particular. So these are basically large healthcare institutions that are US based, that are helping developers locally here in Southeast Asia develop their clinical program. Because sometimes these developments are actually not being led by developers who have integrated and built hospitals in the past, right? So this is kind of their first entry into healthcare, so they need a clinical developer and a strong team like SM&W that's very, very experienced in leading a healthcare project from a technology perspective to move forward with that development.
And jumping onto the technology side of this, do you feel that the AV industry in general, the manufacturers, they're providing you with the right products that you need to deliver these new healthcare installations and healthcare facilities? Do they have the right do they meet the right specifications? Do they have the right certifications? Are they taking into account the fact that medical equipment uses different connectors, different technology, different ways to mesh them together?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that the general commercial AV industry is catching up. A lot of the solutions for integrated operating rooms, for example, have been primarily led by very proprietary manufacturers. They're kind of proprietary solutions that are packaged together and then integrated in by the manufacturer, specifically on the medical equipment planning side of things. So I think a lot of the commercial AV manufacturers that are exhibiting here today and have been, at ISE and at Avixa and Infocom in the States, they're starting to catch up and they're starting to realize, what they need to do to position themselves and their product lines to have a better integration and fit within the healthcare environment. So we are seeing, more availability of product, better solutions, but then again, a lot of the solutions that we're looking at aren't necessarily even fully clinical applications. So, things like digital signage and wayfinding, there's a huge market for that. And we're seeing a big need for that in a lot of these hospital environments here in Southeast Asia. For the project that we're working on here in Bangkok, the client wants to create a wow factor to differentiate themselves from the other competing hospitals. This is going to be a private hospital, and they want to utilize and leverage technology to differentiate themselves from their competition. So, one of those ways is to create something really spectacular when you walk into this facility for the first time. Not to overwhelm their patients and visitors and guests coming in, but something to, again, capture the people coming through, have some kind of targeted branding and reinforcement of their culture, and utilizing technology to emphasize what they want to actually capture.
Yeah, and since AV tech is always in contact with the user, it plays a really large part in crafting the UX for any particular space and position.
Correct.
What do you think is going to be the future of healthcare? There's a couple of things that you've just mentioned where we're kind of deviating from the standard, this is a hospital, to more of this is a mixed development where it's going to be a hospital with, let's say, hospitality attached next to it, maybe even retail attached to it, and just morphing into something new.
Yeah, so some of the things I'll be touching upon later on today are advancements in things like AI and machine learning, right? I think that data analytics and data capture these days is how we inform future planning and utilization and operation of facilities. So a lot of what is happening in AI and machine learning in healthcare is being able to use that technology, take those data analytics, and have those actually applied into the clinical environment, whether that's for things like robotic surgery or diagnosis, more accurate diagnosis that's purely based off of data, rather than introducing the human factor. Of course, the human factor is good in some cases, but the human factor also introduces errors. And predictive analysis of data is incredibly important in healthcare. There are lots of studies that show that if you specifically use data to drive decision making, your accuracy and your cause for error reduces and your accuracy increases. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of smart building technologies also being applied into the healthcare environment. Things like automation, building automation systems, building management systems, tying in lighting control, HVAC control, shade control, robotic control, automated pharmacy systems, robotics that are transporting meds throughout the facility, and tying all of that into an electronic health record and a PACS system. Everything is now completely integrated, tied into the overall IP network. Applications are now pushing out to the cloud. There's a lot of convergence happening in healthcare. We're really excited about it. All of it is connected through an underlying IT infrastructure, which is incredibly important. And SMW is positioned really well to be able to address these issues, because not only are we a very experienced AV consultancy, we're also a very experienced IT consultancy firm. So we bring the AV and IT together into these environments and leverage that experience that we have to bring AV applications into the IT environment and have kind of this enterprise level environment that's fully connected.
Exactly. A lot of these new age applications for disruptive technologies, big data, predictive analysis, AI, they only become possible when AV and IT and all these other separate diaspora, so to speak, converge and reside on the same network. Who's going to deliver them? Who's going to bring these disruptive technologies into play? Are you seeing your healthcare clients asking for them, or do you find yourself in a position where you are proposing this to healthcare installations?
A little bit of both. I think that we have certain clients that are asking for these things and wanting to learn and get educated about what they should be considering. And we bring a lot of ideas to the table for those particular clients. There are also clients of ours that are playing things a little bit safe, wanting to put in a lot of infrastructure so that they can migrate and adapt to these future applications down the road. So there's a whole slew of things, from being kind of on the conservative side to being more cutting edge in terms of technology applications and integration of these newer technologies, and we're seeing everything in between. So I think it really depends on the client and their willingness to kind of push the level of technology. Also depends on budget as well. But again, it's how these institutions are trying to position themselves in the particular marketplace where they're being developed to compete against other local competing hospitals or go after a specific target market.
Thank you so much for your time, Thomas.
All right, thank you.